It's obviously not the ordinary path that a statistician would take.
Yeah,
I used to teach statistics, and so I know about academics. I published in academic journals and that whole route. But what happened to me is that I turned the radio on one day. I was in Boulder, Colorado, where I'd been living just for a few weeks, and I heard someone talking about remote viewing, this idea that anyone had the ability to perceive information without using their 5 physical senses.
Sure, yeah.
And I became intrigued by this idea. It really challenged everything that I thought to be true. And to be honest, I was somewhat skeptical. I didn't think I thought this could be a trick or some sort of hoax or something. But the curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to get this person's book. It was called Cosmic Voyage by Dr. Courtney Brown. And I'll tell you, this guy had credentials too. He had a PhD in political science and taught some of the same sort of areas I did in sociology, at least, relatively similar. And so I said, well, he sounds like he's a credible person. I'll go and get his book. And then at the back of the book, there was an 800 number for signing up for one of his classes in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Farsight Institute. So I just so curious, I just plunked down my money and took a course. I didn't think I could do it, but he said that anyone could do it. And I found within a few days that I could draw pictures that were hidden in folders. And not only myself, but everyone in the class. And I realized that we're capable of doing, more than I thought we were capable, and it kind of opened me up to a lot of new types of topics, like crop circles and extraterrestrials and all the things that seem to go along with remote viewing. So that's really that was kind of my entree into this whole area of paranormal subject matter. And what I've learned is that, though we're naturally skeptical of these areas, there's actually a lot of scientific evidence that they're real. And a lot of people have their own personal experiences with sort of paranormal phenomena. A lot of people. So it really seems that more what's going on is that the way we're brought up to be kind of, not to believe in these sort of topics, that's probably incorrect. There's probably a lot of reality behind it. When you do remote viewing, you can view and describe and get information about anything that exists anywhere. You're not bounded by time and space like you are with your 5 physical senses. And it's just a natural thing for remote viewers after they've been viewing ordinary conventional targets, as we call it. And we'll talk about that in a moment, because this comes out of the military, by the way. But you just want to put your view on you want to view other things besides the Eiffel Tower and a mountain range and just ordinary verifiable things. You want to see, well, what are UFOs and
right.
What's on the dark side of the moon? Because you can put your attention anywhere and get information that is often very accurate. So it's just kind of part and parcel of the whole area that a lot of people like to use it to study what we call esoteric targets.
Right.
Strange things that are probably part of your show on a regular basis. Even though I'm not in your part of the country, I am sure that you cover a lot of topics, and it's just curiosity. People want to know what are these experiences that people have with strange sorts of paranormal topics.
So would I be far off base if, let's say, at that time, maybe there was a story about a crop circle, and then that became your target?
That's what happened, and
yeah.
I didn't know what crop circles were back in 1996 when I took this class. I had never heard of them before. And here we were given a target, and when we opened up the folder, there was this picture of a shape that had been impressed into wheat fields in England. And I looked at that picture, and I said, wow, that's really interesting. And I looked back at what I had written in my remote viewing session, and I had gotten all sorts of strange energies and archetypal messages and hieroglyphics and symbols and extraterrestrial energy and a lot of things that I really couldn't make sense of, but it definitely was not your ordinary target. And it convinced me, since the other pictures I had viewed had been accurate, that maybe there was something more than just a shape in the wheat. Something else was going on there. So it kind of got my curiosity going. And just to go back in history for a second, this remote viewing process comes out of the U.S. military. It was designed to match a Russian psychic spy program that started in the 1950s. And this program was in operation by the Defense Intelligence Agency for 20 years. And all of these people in this remote viewing unit based at Fort Meade, Maryland, they all viewed UFOs, sometimes in their spare time and sometimes for the government. And so it just kind of naturally leads you into that area of wanting to know the truth about the UFO issue. And so you end up viewing UFOs and Mars a million years ago and various subterranean extraterrestrial bases on the planet. And to be honest, all those military viewers are believers in UFOs and ETs. And when you do this long enough, you become a believer yourself. But the point is, it kind of gets you interested in those topics, and that's why I went to this UFO conference. I just became very curious and ran into someone that gave crop circle tours and studied crop circles. And so I've been studying them ever since. and since that time.
I want to get back to something that you had mentioned. You had used remote viewing to take a look at Mars.
Yeah, that's a very favorite of remote viewers. View the face on Mars and the pyramids and those things. And yeah, we always seem to get a civilization on the planet that's not there anymore, or at least not there physically in the same way it might have been in the past. But yeah, I think most remote viewers, when they view the pyramids on Mars, the so-called Cydonia region, you get a very thriving, prosperous planet that seems to have been destroyed by an asteroid bouncing off the atmosphere and evaporating in the atmosphere. And there's some belief that we are those Martians, that we became the Earthlings, we come from the Martians.
Yeah, I've read that theory too.
I know there's no way to verify that.
Yeah.
Or even any other things we've gotten. But when I've viewed Mars, we seem to get a lot of activity around the Cydonia region. A thriving civilization that was sadly destroyed by an act of nature.
We've got another probe going there soon.
Yes, it's interesting how our record with Mars is so bad.
Yeah.
It's because that area is still inhabited, and some of the areas are still inhabited. I think if you look at the last video frames from the Russian Phobos space probe, I mean, something cast a pretty big shadow on the planet right before the space probe stopped working. And the remote viewers that viewed it got that it was hit by some sort of missile from that craft. And it seems that someone doesn't want us taking all those pictures of Mars or something like that, because so many of them have had malfunctions and problems. And it wouldn't be, hard to imagine that if there was still an extraterrestrial civilization there that didn't want to be discovered, that they would find ways of kind of blinding our space probes, or just taking out some of them so that we didn't find out as much as they wanted us to find out.
Well,
it's one possibility. I don't know, but it's interesting. I mean, I think there's more going on to Mars. I mean, some of the astronauts have said that they think that Mars could still be inhabited. Gordon Cooper said that. So, a lot of those astronauts had experiences with extraterrestrial contact in the moon and other places, and so going on the way to the moon. So it's no secret that there is extraterrestrial activity out there, and that anytime we send probes out there, it encounters this intelligence sometimes.
Just curious, has the extraterrestrial activity ever, from our perception, seemed hostile?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it seems that way. It really depends. We don't totally understand their motives. They do seem to be hostile to our nuclear weapons, and there's plenty of instances of nuclear missiles being neutralized, both here and in Russia.
Yeah, who wouldn't be?
Yeah. They're concerned about it, and there's cases of entire banks of nuclear missiles being disabled in Air Force bases and places like that simultaneously. And so that could be interpreted as a hostile act, or it could just be interpreted as a message to stop fooling around with nuclear weapons, because it can have such a destructive effect. And most of the extraterrestrials seem to be either positive or neutral, from my experience. There do seem to be also rogue elements that have their own agendas and are not terribly pro-human. They don't really care about us one way or another, or they can be somewhat negative. But the only way to find out more about this is if we, get the government and the media kind of to take it more seriously and to open up and have more of a disclosure. And there is a link on the website, Disclosure Project. The Disclosure Project has a lot of videos from eyewitnesses in the military who've seen these UFOs, and people from aerospace and the FAA who know about this and are willing to testify about it in front of Congress. And you can get those videos from the Disclosure Project, and the link is on the openingminds.info website.
Now, I understand that the original application of remote viewing in the military was to locate missing planes. Is that correct?
Oh, all sorts of things. Missing planes, missing persons, opposing enemies, military structures and missiles and things like that.
Now,
they used it in the first Gulf War extensively.
Did they? Yeah. Now this is what might be hard for me to comprehend, because since I only have a layman's knowledge of remote viewing, but when you are viewing extraterrestrials, UFOs, what are you getting? Are you getting actual pictures?
Yeah, it really changes from session to session, and every person is different. But yeah, it can come across as images and sounds and feelings and colors. It doesn't come across in a logical way. It just comes across through your body. And in a sense, it isn't really viewing because you're using your whole body. You're using your body like an antenna to receive information. And this is not all that far-fetched. Just think about it. Every time you get in your car and decide to go somewhere, you get a little feeling about that place. And sometimes you decide to change your route of travel based on a gut feeling or something. It uses the same gut feeling and other types of intuitive sensing. So you get these feelings in your body about shapes and sizes and colors and speeds, and you basically just write it down. And by the end of the session, it seems to come together into a coherent kind of description of something. And when you look at the target picture when you're done, it often looks strikingly like what you drew in the picture. The thing about it, though, I got to tell you, is the most accurate session you can get, you're still not going to know if it's accurate until you're done. You can't tell when you're in it whether you're making it up or whether it's really accurate. There's no way to know. It's just stream of thought with a structure and a protocol around it. And you get these images, you get sounds, you get shapes, and it's a protocol. So you start with very basic information, just like a basic identification. Is it a man-made thing or a natural thing or land or water or something like that? And you progress from there to more and more detailed descriptions. And you draw pictures. There's different stages and phases that they found that natural psychics go through. And they basically designed the system around what they found natural psychics did automatically for you and me, people that are just average people that are not especially psychic. And you can train yourself to do this. That's what's amazing. It's really built in. And I'll tell you the truth, it totally defies what you and I learned in school about physical reality and what science says about the universe. What we learned in school is not entirely true. It's not a complete description. There's more than you can see and more than just physical reality out there. There's another level of reality, and that's what you're engaging with remote viewing. I think it's really a form of, I think it more of a form of resonance than remoteness. In the sense, remote makes you think of something distant, but resonance makes you think of more frequency, and that idea is more consistent with quantum mechanics, modern physics, that everything is really in some sense connected, and that's how remote viewing can really work, because things aren't really remote after all.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Okay, Simeon, I'm going to ask you to hold it right there because we have to go to a break. When we come back, we'll have more with Simeon Hein, author of Opening Minds. Picking up where we left off, let me ask you, so you're getting images, sensations, right, regarding these sessions regarding the crop circles. Mm-hmm. Were you getting anything along the lines of a reason?
Not entirely. What we got was that it was designed to convey information. That's what we got from the very beginning. That it's designed to convey information, and that it creates and channels energies that are not normally found in a field.
Convey information to who?
To people.
To us?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. To people, and also that it had an energy effect on the Earth at the same time. So it had a multifaceted purpose.
Every once in a while, it seems like every couple of years there's a crop circle story in the news. Mm-hmm. Generally, in your experience, where are most of these located? Is it Britain?
Yeah, they mostly seem to be in Britain. Yeah. We get them here in the U.S. every year, and they're actually all over the world. And they seem to have gone on for hundreds of years. There's descriptions going back a long ways. Different countries have descriptions of these patterns.
It seems to me every couple of years there's a story, it makes the news, and it's big news for a couple of days. Mm-hmm. And then, out of nowhere, somebody comes out and claims responsibility, and the entire matter seems to be forgotten by mainstream media.
Yeah, the reason I wrote Opening Minds book is because I really wanted to engage that issue. Because I used to think the same thing. We really used to wonder, myself and my colleagues that research this, is it man-made or is it something else? And for the longest time, we really thought it was not humanly possible to make shapes like that overnight of such complexity and such size. But we actually met human circle makers in 2000, in the summer of 2000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we met these people, and I document that extensively in Opening Minds, who some of these people are and what their motives are. And they actually convinced us that they do a lot of them, if not most of the complex patterns. And they don't do all of them, but they imitated what they've seen and made them. Humans are artistic beings, right. And we just embellish and improvise. And they took these patterns that were showing up in the fields of England, and they made them more and more complicated till they are what we see now. But the interesting thing about it is when they go out there at night, they see really strange things that motivates them to keep making more. They see lights come over, they hear sounds, they encounter shadow beings, shadow people in the crop circles.